goodness. Big move Monday. Look out. A way to end the tournament.
All right. Kevin Claunch here, and I am honored to have the junkyard dog himself, Cody Walters. What's going on, man?
How you doing?
Dude, all right. So assistant coach at Ohio University, alumni from Ohio University. You were a two-time All-American there, three-time MAC champion. First of all, congrats on being inducted to the Hall of Fame there as well, man. That's awesome stuff.
I appreciate that. Just means I'm getting old.
So, well, let's talk a little bit about that, right? Because, well, before I forget to do it, I want to get to the genesis of the junkyard dog nickname. It's one of the cool nicknames. It's one that really I felt like as a fan watching you embodied your style, your approach, your mentality. So just talk a little bit about, where that came from and how you embraced it, or if it was something you didn't even think about.
Yeah. So all my life, I wasn't like the best build. I wasn't the fastest. I wasn't the strongest. But like when it came to wrestling, I always did everything I could to win, no matter what, and I had good success doing it. And it was not always pretty, but I always just found a way. And then when I got to college, sometimes I was hanging on by a thread, or I'd make something up and just somehow find my way, get my arm raised. And then one day, Zeb Miller started calling me the junkyard dog, and to be honest, I loved it, and it kind of like amped me up a little bit. I was like, that's cool, I like it, and I kind of started living by that. Probably a little too much. I liked the matches to be a little closer than they should have, just because I wanted to live up to that nickname a little bit. So Zeb Miller's actually the first one that called me, and I ran with it after that.
Hey, shout out to Zeb, man. He's a good
Zeb's
guy,
the man.
so.
I appreciate that.
100%. So, well, obviously wrestling for Coach Joel Greenlee there, been there for a number of years, and obviously, so connected with that program. So talk a little bit about his impact over the years. Let's start, I guess, first as an athlete. Talk about that piece of it first.
Are you with Coach Greenlee?
Yeah.
Yeah, Coach Greenlee, man, just off meeting coach the first time on my recruiting trip. Just like when you meet him, Joel has this presence about him. He is just this big, intimidating looking man, and then when he opens his mouth, he is the furthest thing from it. He's a gentle giant, as some say. He's funny. He makes you laugh. He's very outgoing as far as making a conversation and making everyone feel welcome. And it doesn't matter if you're talking about an engine on a car or milking cattle. Like, he'll find a way to have a whole conversation with you. He's very smart, and he's very comfortable to be around. So just off the rip, no matter who you are, you're gonna feel comfortable around Coach Greenlee. And so for me, especially like when I was looking to make a college decision, I mean, how do you not be drawn to someone like that? And so right away I had a connection with Joel, and Joel's a big man, and my dad was a big man. So I don't know, that was a kind of a correlation in my head too. It's like, oh, it's kind of like a father figure in a way to me, because my dad's a big dude and scary man, and so is Joel. So that kind of worked out too. And then Coach Hansen was there too, and he had a lot of tattoos, and I had a lot of tattoos for a high school kid. So naturally, I thought that dude was sweet too. So I was like, man, this is a really good fit.
I love it. I love it. Well, and man, I'm gonna mess this up, so I apologize. I think it might have been Colin Heffernan who was telling me, because he was coaching with you guys for a bit, about when occasionally Coach Greenlee throws the shoes on and jumps into practice and reminds people what he's all about.
They're always on. They're never tied. If he ties them, get out of the way, because Joel still got it though. If he wants to, he can move. He does a high crouch to one side, sweep. I think it's sweep. Does high crouch right side because he's left leg lead. Yeah, so high crouch to the right side, sweep to the left side. He tells you all before he shoots. He'll tell you what he's about to do to you. And he's he just turned 60, I think, 2 weeks ago, and he'll still, if he has to, he'll let you know.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, he always tries to get people to ride him too. No one can ride him for more than 3 seconds. That has tried. So,
have you tried?
In high school or in college, I rode him. He doesn't believe that, and he won't let me ride him again. But I think I locked my side headlock, and I think I choked him. I think. If I remember right, I could have just made that up in my head too, but I think I did.
Well, let's talk about the top game. Let's transition to that right now, because you were such an animal on top, right? And just suffocating. Everybody knew it. Everybody knew what to expect and couldn't seem to really do anything about it. Now, I like riding on top. I think that there's a mental edge that it provides you. But I'm sure there's, like anything in wrestling, levels to it, right? So talk to me a little bit about your philosophy in the top game and general approach.
Well, it started for me at a young age. I think I was 10 years old when Jay Jagger's father, the associate head at Ohio State, his father was one of my coaches, and he's like, we gotta start teaching these young guys legs. And I was 10 years old, I think 100, and I was a heavyweight like all my life. Like, so I was really short, thick, like I was really slow, and all the kids were stronger, faster than me. And, so I really didn't do my catching up in matches till the third period when they would get tired or whatever. I was kind of like a Rocky story, you know what I'm saying, when I wrestled. But when Mr. Jaggers really poured in the great philosophy of teaching legs to us at a young age, and it really just stuck to me because I was like, man, this is really an opportunity where I felt like it was fair game for me because on my feet, I always felt overwhelmed. Like I couldn't keep up or I didn't have the power to shoot through people or wasn't fast enough to get to a leg. I wasn't good at moving my feet as far as, so when he taught me that, there was definitely trial and error off at first, but man, when I really learned them and grasped them, I saw the difference it made. Like, and the impact of my wrestling at such a young age and so quick. And I was like, man, so it really started taking a lot out of people. And I really started separating myself when I would get on top. And like, even if it was the second period they chose down, seeing how gassed they were in the third period from trying to escape. And, that carried throughout my life, and especially when in my high school state tournament, my senior year, in the semis, I had a ride out to win, and then in the finals, I had a ride out to win. So, I mean, it was just like I said, I felt like I was very hard to score on. I felt like I could escape from everyone, and I felt like I could ride everyone. So I knew when I got to college, I was like, I'm up 2-0 every match if I look at it like that.
Yeah.
So, but I kind of used it like that to a disadvantage. I had so much confidence in that I didn't really like. If you were to watch me wrestle in practice compared to how I wrestle in a match, I would be like, oh, I'm gonna score so many points. I'm gonna beat this dude so bad, and then we'd slap hands and ref blow a whistle. I'd be like, okay, all right, 2-0, 2-0. All right, don't get taken down. I'm gonna ride him out, and I'm gonna like my philosophy changed just because I was so comfortable with being so good on top.
I didn't write this down, but I definitely want to ask about this because I've thought about this with a variety of different wrestlers, and I've had other guys who transitioned from wrestling to coaching kind of talk about this as well, where it's like almost once that pressure of competition is gone, you're so free to open up in the wrestling room as a coach that your wrestling jumps another level or two, right? So from a coaching perspective, how do you is there anything you try to do to help that transition from the practice room to the competition mat, or is that a conversation that's taking place, or what are your thoughts around that?
And so many of these kids talk these days, like just about having fun and scoring the next point. It's like you'll see some of those Penn State guys or whoever it is, like they give up a takedown, but then they still get the tech fall a minute and a half later, 3 minutes later. It's just because like they just know their quality of work that they put into it is so much further ahead, or whether that's true or not, they believe it. So they just continue at their craft and just keep chopping them down. And I think that's so important for our guys to realize, it's okay to give up a point. It's just about, I think so many people get fixated on giving up a point that they wrestle more than not to lose, and not even intellectually thinking that, like, I don't want to lose, but it's just like they don't want to give up something trying to go get something, if that makes sense. And I suffered from pretty bad match anxiety myself. Like I threw up before matches. I kind of had some self-doubt and like believing in how good I truly was. You know what I'm saying? Like especially with me growing up in high school, like I was always a D3 kid, and so in Ohio it's D1, 2, 3. So, when you keep hearing, oh, you're a D3 kid, in a sense, I kind of believed it in a way. I'm like, so I always had that little bit of doubt that I always worked through or whatever that would catch up to me every now and again. But like, when I realized how much it never stopped me from wanting to win. You know what I'm saying? Like instead of believing like, no, I could put it on someone, it's like, oh man, I know how to win. I got to always do it that way instead of just letting it fly.
You know what? It's funny. So I was doing a little research before this, and again, this is kind of off the notes here, but my understanding, you were a freshman All-American at Ohio then. So when that happened, did that kind of like click something within you, like D3 D Shmi, right? Like I deserve to be here. I'm ready to go. Like, you know, or how did when if that happened?
Yeah, so when I got to college, I that kind of flipped because nobody like recruited me. So I already had that kind of chip on my shoulder a little bit, like where I was like, you know, for me, like I've told the story many times, like I wanted to go to Kent State in the worst way. And they didn't, and my parents and Coach Andrasi at the time, they were in each other's wedding and are not in each other. They went to high school together, and so they knew each other, graduated together. Jimmy actually took me in my first wrestling camp, so I always wanted to go to Kent. And somewhere down the road, I mean, when the recruiting process started, I just didn't feel like they were that interested in me or wanted me. And you know, so at the end, when Coach Greenlee made his offer for me, and the way Coach just worded it was like he believed I could conquer the world. Like he believed I could win four national. Like he just believed in me so much, and whether he did or not, he made it seem like I was like, oh my goodness. And you know, I didn't really feel that for Kent State. So when I did commit to Ohio, I made a vow to always beat Kent. You know, 'cause I had a chip on my shoulder for that. But then I always kind of had that vision of like, why didn't you call me? Like every school I wrestled, I'm like, why didn't you call me? You know, all that stuff. So, you know, that's kind of how I took it. It's like, you know, I did have a chip on my shoulder, you know, D3 Shmi or whatever. Like, because
Yeah.
once you get to that, you know, you wrestle so many like one of the funniest stories I had is oh my goodness, I'm drawing a blank. I was wrestling he wrestled for Cornell. I'm drawing a blank. Peppelman. I was wrestling Peppelman for
Oh,
seventh
yeah.
and eighth at Scuffle my freshman year. And I was a huge Peppelman fan when I was in high school. Like he was on my wall. He was like the A6 160-pounder wrestler of the year. And like I remember going out before I went to wrestle him. It was our second time wrestling that tournament. And I'd already beat him, but my mom called me and she was like, "Isn't it funny? He's hanging in your wall right now at home." And I was like, that is wild, mom. So and then I ended up beating him, but it's just crazy. It's like, yeah, when you get to college, your high school stuff matters. Like Garrett Thompson never made it to state and he was the number four. You know, it's just, you know, it's all a mindset. It's like, hey, it's a fresh slate. Doesn't matter how good, how bad you were in high school, what you did. It's, hey, if you're willing to put the work in, you can go get after it.
I love it. I love it. So, did you? I want to transition to coaching here, but did you have any favorite matches from college? Any favorite rivalries? Any favorite moments? Is there anything when you look back that you stands out that you're going to tell your kids about that you're certain, like I'm telling them about this, and that's going to be fun?
I don't know. Obviously, my freshman year in All-American, that was pretty incredible. And like one of the two top moments in that my round of 12 match, that it always makes me smirk to this day when I think about it is going into the third period. Um, we were tied. Me and his name was Tanner Weatherman from Iowa State. We were tied, and he wanted to go neutral, and his coach told him to go down, and they started arguing about it. And I was like, I was like, oh yeah, heck yeah. And then like, you know, I was riding him. There's, you know, a couple crazy scrambles in there, but I stayed on top. We go out of bounds. And then like the coolest moment of that match for me was we went out of bounds and I'm walking back and I looked at the score clock and I realized like I saw the clock and I was I think there was 8 seconds of riding time with 52 seconds left or something crazy like that. And I was like, I looked at Joel and I was like, if I ride him out, do I win? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, okay. I was like, so I just was tunneled. I was like, oh my goodness, I don't even have to go back to overtime. Okay. So that was just a crazy mindset for me there. And I actually ended up getting a turn with short time left. But that was probably my coolest moment for me. That was really cool. But also winning Max my freshman year was really cool. Just because like that was kind of like the pinnacle at Ohio. Like at the time, it's like, oh, if you win a MAC title and get your name on the wall, and that was kind of the first thing I got to do to like be a part of history at Ohio. So that was a really cool moment for me. And then I don't know. Also, watching, and it wasn't even a match I wrestled, but watching Taiwan Claxton and Phil Wellington in our
Yeah,
duel
yeah.
against Missouri. Taiwan was talk. I'll never forget before the duel. We were doing it on the theater, and they turned the lights off and stuff. And he had Drake Hudesheld, who was ranked #1 in the country. And Taiwan looked at all of us. He's like, "They messed up. They shouldn't have turned the lights off for a brother. They shouldn't have turned the lights off." He was like, "They shouldn't have done that." And it was just the coolest moment where I just saw a kid like just embrace the moment. I've never seen it like that. He embraced it and he believed he was going to win. And he just kept saying, and he won. And then Phil Wellington beat Jaden Cox, was
Yep.
Jaden's first career loss. And so those were two moments that I didn't wrestle that were pretty incredible for me to experience and watch. And it was really cool to see those guys do that, seeing other kids be in this surreal moment. That was awesome for me to watch.
That's fantastic. I love it. I love it. So let's talk about the coaching journey. So you started off at Gardner Webb. Shout out to Daniel Elliott and the crew down there. Big fans.
Elliot
of
was
those
actually
guys.
my first recruiting call.
Oh, really?
He was the first person to ever call me.
Wow, very cool.
Yeah,
Very cool.
yeah. So shout out to Daniel for that.
Absolutely. So you start there, you move over to West Virginia with, I believe it was Tim Flynn's first year, right? First couple of years.
I think they got there in April and I joined
Okay.
them in June, I think it was.
Okay.
With Mitchell and Cliff and them.
Yep. And so then move over to Ohio. So just talk a little bit about, kind of some of the things you picked up, through that journey and making it back to the Bobcats.
Man, yeah. So my time at Gardner Webb was just crazy because it was a crazy transition for me from finding out how to be an athlete to a coach. That was kind of hard for me, just because how do you wrestle kids? Do you wrestle as hard as you can? And that was just, I had to learn that quick, because I was still in my prime, where I still had this mindset of to win. I hated getting taken down and all that. Well, I'm still like that, but there's a time and a place, and when you got to really try to let them know that you're still good, that you still got it. And then there's times where you got to build these guys' confidence. And, and some of those guys were older than me on that team. Like I remember Kyle Ash was older than me, and some of those guys were like my age. So that was fun. But Coach Elliott really did a great job at kind of letting me find myself, if that makes sense. Like he guided me. He did a very good job at teaching me the ropes as far as, scholarships. And he taught me the whole plan of how you go about recruiting, how our money worked. And, especially because I was a private school. So there wasn't like in-state, out-of-state tuition. And, and there wasn't a very high enrollment there. So, and, you got to recruit a certain type of kid to go to Gardner Webb, and it's a private school. So, that was really fun for me. And, going on recruiting trips and all that stuff, like I'm a very shy person if I don't know you. Like maybe some people find that kind of standoffish, but it's hard for me to just go up to like I told you about Joel. He can go up to a stranger anywhere and crack. Like it's hard. Like I get like nervous about it. Not much so much anymore. You kind of gotta get over that fact when you're in it for so long. But at first, so that was a really big transition, learning how to take conversations and then learning how to deal with some kids aren't the friendliest when you call them and say you're Gardner Webb. And I had one kid like laugh at me and hung up. I was like, okay, So I mean, yeah, that was a great experience from Coach Elliott because we had success too. Like Hunter Gamble went on a run.
Yeah.
He did. He pinned Zach Zavatsky at nationals in the Conti round. He ended up losing to Gravena from Rutgers in the round of 16. So he went on a run. He was as good as any of those All-Americans. He wrestled really hard, and he was a tough kid. Ryan Mosley, he was a 57-pounder. He was a SoCon champ. Tyler Marinelli, Austin Trott, Boyce Cornwell. I mean, we had some really good guys. And the year before I got there, they had a 3-way tie for the SoCon title. So that was a really cool opportunity for me. But it was kind of weird being so far from home, because I was in North Carolina. I'm from Cleveland area, so I was in Athens, which is 2.5 hours from my house, and then going all the way there. So that was a transition for me that I had to get used to, but I learned a lot about myself, grew up a lot as a person, and but man, I truly fell in love with the sport like I never had being a coach at first, because you look at it a completely different way,
Yeah.
because you see these kids like going through something that you're like, I was like, man, I was just there, dude. I understand what you're going through, man, and being able to relate to someone with those feelings so fresh in your soul was good. So I was grateful for that time, and then I actually had the itch to kind of compete. I never really did freestyle in my life, so like I think I don't know, a month or two before the open, I decided I was like, I'm gonna try this thing one more time. I'm just gonna give it a roll. And so I started trying freestyle, training for it about I think about 2 months there. Got to train up at Virginia Tech for a little bit, and then did well. Ended up placing seventh at the Open, qualified for the trials, and that was just an awesome experience to see how that whole system worked. Because like I never did that in
Yeah.
college, and I never got to see how that system works of wrestling at the Open, qualifying for the trials, and then now it's so advanced, U17s, U20s, So that was really good because that introduced me to that because I never
Yeah.
really been focused on that. So that was really cool to see and what that kind of takes and how different that training is. And then actually, my dad was like, "Hey, you should give Coach Flynn a call," when he got the job at West Virginia. And I was like, "Dad, I don't even think Coach Flynn knows my name. Like, I've never talked to that man. The only thing I've ever seen of Coach Flynn was his headlock videos, And so I was like, there's no way. And then this is the craziest thing ever. The next day, I had a voicemail from Coach Flynn calling me to see if I would take call him back for possible position there. And so, and Coach Flynn was just coach of the year like 2 years before, and obviously
Mhm.
they took what was it, third at the Nationals. I mean,
Mhm.
with Mitchell, Shop, Avery, Habit, those
Mhm.
guys like
Yeah.
all top
Yep.
four in the country just went on a run. And so when he gave me the call, it was kind of a no-brainer to be able to learn from someone like Coach Flynn. And little did I know how much that Coach Cliff Moore and Coach Port brought to the table as well. So, had that talk with Coach Elliott, and he was really cool about it. Really, he's like, "Hey, what an amazing opportunity!" And so that led me to the next 3 years at West Virginia. And man, what a crazy transition that was, going from Gardner Webb, which is a very low enrollment school, to a Power Five West Virginia.
Mhm.
But that team was like new, we there was a lot
Right.
of it was a completely different ball game because you always think the grass is greener. Like, so I remember thinking like, I'm going to West Virginia, I'm gonna call the top kids in the country and try to get them to come here. Like, it's like, look at these facilities, look at all what we got. And I think I got laughed more on those phone calls than I did at Gardner Webb. I was like, wait a second, it's like, oh, your team's not that good. I'm like, we would be if we got you. Like,
Yeah.
so it's like, but man, Coach Flynn always talked about, we're a ship, and we gotta not only turn around, but we gotta stop completely, and we gotta go this way. And he just always talked about the vision. And the thing I'm so grateful that Coach Flynn always made me feel so involved with every decision, whether it was scholarship, whether it was practice, whether it was you name it. Like, it was me, him, Coach Port, and Cliff Moore were just in sync on everything, man. And it was really something I was like, this is really special. This is and it was around a bunch of guys that had the same vision of where they want to take a team. And so, man, we had some really dark duels in there. Like, I remember the Oklahoma State duel was really rough. I think I was in my shirt by the end of the duel because they're just was so good. Pit duel was rough, and then but you always saw these moments, and then fast forward to a year later, Noah Adams was number two in the country, undefeated, going to
Yep.
nationals. When we had some really great guys coming through the surface, showing some really bright spots, getting good recruits. I mean, we had Peyton Hall commit, and like that was you just saw the tide was turning. And so to see a program go from like, man, this is bad, this is not looking good, to oh my goodness, look where this is going. You can see the writing on the wall where Coach Flynn, and since I have left, where they continued to take that constantly in the top 25, All Americans, conference champions. I mean, it was really special and really cool to see that. And so you got to, that was my first experience with an RTC, because I was a coach of that as well as a volunteer. So that was just learning that aspect of the game, helping with freestyle as well. So like what I was talking about, going to those U20s, U23s, like how that works, using the RTC with the rules, staying up to date on that. And that was just a well-oiled machine that Coach Flynn had going, and so that was really eye-opening for me to be a part of. And I still am, and was very grateful to be a part of that. So
Yeah, that was a fun thing. I think most people, I mean, Edinburgh was so good for so many years with so little when it came to facilities and funding and those sorts of things. And I think the athletic department there is done some new things recently to, obviously they just brought AJ Shop back and they're putting some things back into the program. But I think anybody who
awesome
knew
too.
For sure. And
Yeah.
I think anybody who knew enough about, Coach Flynn was like, give him a couple years. This is going to work.
Yeah. If you talk to that man for 5 minutes, whatever it could be origami. He's going to figure it out. And he's going to be the best at it. I mean, he's just really, he just doesn't know how to fail, or he doesn't accept it. Like he's someone so special because he puts it on himself. He doesn't blame game. Like it's not, hey, it's not that kid's fault. It's what am I not doing as a coach? And I was just like, oh, taken back by someone that's like such a big name and has all these accolades. And it's like I could see him screaming at someone saying, like, why are you succeeding? Like this is my way or the high. Like no, it was what can I do differently? Always like, hey, what can we do differently? And I was just like, oh my goodness, like, and he was just like I said, making everyone feel so involved, whether it was like I said, whether it was me, whether it was Port Cliff, or if it was the supporting staff. He made everyone feel like, hey, we need you, and it was awesome. He's a good man.
Nice. Well, and then obviously you make the transition back to the alma mater, back to Ohio there. So talk a little bit about, kind of what it's been like being back with the program and, what you're building there.
Ohio University is, it holds a special place to my heart. I have it tattooed on my body. I have that. Me and my buddy Andrew Manchik, our big 84 pounder, got the same tattoo. So like it'll always be special to me. And it truly took me places in life that like I'll be walking campus, whether it's showing a recruit or going to get a coffee, and I'll just have these memories, and it's just like it's so special to me because like I had a lot of ups and I had a lot of downs there, and it truly brought me to a place in life where I'm so grateful for. So that's been really cool. But I think Ohio University is so special, and the reason I like being there is because when I talk to a recruit, I believe in what I'm saying because I did it, I lived it. It's like, you don't have to be ranked in the country at a high school to be successful here. You don't need top notch this, top notch that, like we have great stuff, we have good equipment, we have everything that other schools have, it's just you got to be willing to put in the work to do the extra. And I can tell when I say that, I say it and I mean it because I lived it,
Yeah.
and I've seen it done. Not just me, like I said, we had so many great wrestlers come out of there, and like Jeremy Johnson was just a man. He was our heavyweight, and I'll never forget. It was our first run, and I remember thinking, I was like, all right, because I was struggling at first when I got to college, because I tried to quit actually, like really quick into my career, because it was just so much to me. But I remember one of our first runs, I saw Jeremy, and I was like, I'm gonna run next to this kid. Like he was our heavyweight. I was like, I just, I need to build my confidence a little bit. And I don't think Jeremy ever finished out of the top 10, anytime,
Wow.
any run. And I remember that first run, just seeing him get smaller and smaller. And I was like, what am I doing here? Like, but Jeremy Johnson just had this, like, I hate to say it, like the little engine that could, man. He just pushed himself so hard in everything he did. It became contagious. And for me, like I said, when I was struggling, seeing that it was a really motivating thing. It's like, no, we can do it. Just we got to follow this kind of example. And then we had a great freshman class, and that's how it happens, man. It becomes contagious. So that's what I love seeing on Ohio University. Like we have such an amazing senior class that has really taken the ball on being leaders, and it kind of reminds me of our class. Like it was just, and then we have a freshman class. That reminds me of our class when we were freshmen. Just a bunch of hard-working kids that want to be there, that want to be great. That I saw one kid. I took a picture of him. It might be creepy, but I took a picture of him. I don't think he noticed, but he was after practice. He was writing in a journal, like all about the practice, and I was like, "That kid's gonna be good. There's no way he's not good. I mean, he already shows the signs, and then every day I see him working on his craft and then writing it down. I'm like, that kid's gonna be good." And so when you see that stuff, and it gets me giddy because it's here. It's where what I was a part of, and you want to see that tradition to go. So it's been really fun for me as a coach. It's a lot different as a coach, just the daily, but I love it because, like I said, I truly get to talk from the heart on every recruit I talk to, and I believe what I'm saying. You can
No,
be great here.
100%, 100%. So let's talk a little bit about this team. And you and I were talking before we started recording this. And like you said, there's a lot of youth on the team, and there's some strong veteran presence as well, right? So, let's start with Garrett Thompson. Strong season last year, probably not the finish he had envisioned, right? But talk a little bit about his mentality coming into this year and as a leader.
And Garrett had a little pretty significant injury he was dealing with. So the fact that he did what he did is truly it's impressive, to be honest. But that is given because of what he puts into it every single day. That kid is just. I'll never forget the first time I saw Garrett. I was like, "How is this kid not ranked right now?" I was like, "He is just a goer. He works hard." I remember, Peyton Keller and him were just going at it, and I'm like, "Oh my goodness!" Like that Garrett Thompson, and Garrett ended up being the backup that year. And uh, you there?
Yep, I'm here.
I don't know what happened. Oh, sorry. Um, but he ended up being the backup that year, but that never stopped him. That kid was no matter.
All right, and we're back. We had some technical difficulties there. Garrett Thompson, let's go.
Garrett Thompson, and just no matter what it was for Garrett, whether it was a lift, whether it was a run, whether it was rehab, he does 150%. Like he always puts in the extra. And you know, when you put in that kind of work and that kind of time, you're going to be successful. And it's no surprise he was the number 4 seed. I mean, he had just an incredible. He had some lumps in that early stages when he first got to 74. I think he was adjusting on some of his finishes at the bigger weight, but once he nailed that down, man, he just was fun to watch. And getting to wrestle with him, I'm like, oh boy, if I wasn't 30 pounds heavier than this kid, I would be in some trouble, man. Like he is just a workhorse, and he loves the sport. He loves the sport. And I think he carries that chip on his shoulder for not being really recruited. And man, he's fun to watch.
100%. And then, talk a little bit about, we talked about Sal Perini, Zane Lehman, some of the other guys that are coming back and want to finish off a strong career.
So Zane and Sal are coming off a medical red shirt. I mean, they just did a tremendous job at their rehab and making sure they did the right things to get back and get healthy. And man, they put on some size. They did a really good job at focusing on fixing what they had to fix, and then also, like I said, putting on the size they need to go up a weight. Zane's too big, in my opinion. He's a monster. I don't like tying up with him anymore, but but like I said too, like those kids are the ones that just do everything you ask, and it's like when you talk about to a recruit's parents of what the ideal student athlete is, it's you point at them. It's like that's it, right there, and those are the guys, man. And same with like we have Jeremy Olsko coming back, who is just you never have to ask him to go harder. You never have to. It's like sometimes with those guys, it's like, hey, you need to like 2 of them today. I had to tell them to take the day off because like we haven't, and they didn't want to take the day off. I'm like, you guys need to take a rest and rest your bodies a little bit, man. And it's like those guys are just so tunnel visioned on being good and being successful, and they think if they're not working or doing something, they're failing, and
Mhm.
it's just awesome to see, And we got guys like too, like Derek Rake. He's really special. He was a match away from going to nationals last year. He wrestled Caden Cassidy, who I think's ranked 20th or 16th right now at the MAC tournament, and he ended up tech falling him, I think, in the second period. And then he lost to Schrader, and then he ended up losing the match to go to nationals. I mean, and we got some guys too that are coming back that could be first times in the lineup that it's just really exciting. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know how it's gonna go. But I can say with confidence they're putting in the work this summer. They're doing great things. And right now our team looks like they believe in what we're teaching and what we're saying. And they have we break it down to MAC champs every day, and it looks like we got 30 guys in there dedicated to try to do that, and it's exciting to see, and it looks like everyone's on the same page and living that dream together.
I love it. I love it. So one thing I wanted to ask too, and I found this quote. Shoot, where is it? There it is. All right. I don't know if you saw this, but it was a tweet about the MAC football. It was some guy who said, "Congrats on your 5-star recruits and $100 million facilities, SEC fans. Meanwhile, the MAC is out here playing real football in front of 14 people and a raccoon on a Tuesday night
I
during a
seen that too.
blizzard."
I seen
Yeah.
it too.
You ever
I've
see
seen-
a punter throw a touchdown to a long snapper while the scoreboard's on fire? Didn't think so. Anyway, it goes on. It's a fantastic quote. And I kind of attribute a little bit of it to MAC wrestling because it's such a wild conference. The dual meets can go back and forth. The MAC dual season is so fun. You're going to have so many close matches. You're going to have a couple studs on each team that are going to go out there. You're lucky if they match up against each other, like we would get with Thompson and Kramer last year and in previous years. So talk a little bit about the MAC conference as a whole, right? Just how much fun it is, how exciting it is, how just the MAC. I love it. I'm a huge MAC fan.
Man, yeah, you got 13 teams going at it all the time, man. I mean, and you just got to look at the coaches that have came into man, they've done such a great job, and you got these newcomers like you got Coach Vincent at Buffalo. He's doing a great job. Coach Dutchman's back at Bloomsburg. They got, I don't even know. I saw them get like 97 commits last year, and then they got some transfers. I mean, Coach Beasley's doing a great job at George Mason. I have nothing but respect for him. Josh Moore is at Kent. I mean, Coach Ludwig, I have nothing but respect for. He's had some great wrestlers and, All Americans recently, and,
Mm-hmm.
some great dual wins, in the against some good Big Ten teams. I mean, I can go on forever about all these coaches, all these guys, but I just think when I talk to them that we have such all similar visions, and I think I think everyone, it kind of reminds me of me as a wrestler. It's like we all have that little chip on our shoulder that we don't get the publicity, like you're not getting that 5-star recruit out of high school or whatever, but we're gonna have some guys at the national tournaments that beat those 5-star guys. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I think that's like doing more with less, if that makes sense with you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we didn't have that guy, But I mean, man, just the teams that have been put together recently and the visions. And I think it's funny because like it gets chippy too with the coaches. Like I have a hard time when a coach is yelling or saying things like not firing back. I mean, it takes all of me not to, just because I think that's a heat of passion. I think that's fun. I mean, I know
Hey,
Joel.
you got to advocate for your kids. If the coaches
Oh
don't do it, who
man.
will?
I know, like Joel will get mad at me some because I'll talk back. I mean, I don't, but I can only take. I don't say it on the first time, but third time you got my attention. I'm like, oh my, but that's yeah. I think that stuff's fun too. I think that's part of building duels and the experiences. Like, listen, I'm not trying to go 1-2 anyone. That's not what I want. But I think that brings a little fire on both sides. You see two coaches kind of advocating for their athlete, fighting with each other, getting a little chippy. I think the wrestlers get a little more into it. And I think that's what puts fans in the stands. It's more of an event. Why do people sometimes go to hockey games? It's like, I want to see a scrap, and it's just
Mm-hmm.
like, but the MAC has done a very good job recently at their building right now. I think we had some down years, but recently, man, we have every team's got like 4 or 5 ranked guys, in the
Mm-hmm.
in the top 20 too. I mean, like Man, I think in Lockhaven, I didn't say Lockhaven, but Lockhaven's been doing a tremendous job. Like, man, but we're getting better too. And I think that people are starting to notice that. And I think the 30-man roster thing is going to help us too, trickle down to like more ranked guys, like, in the country in the top 250 for Mad Scouts or anything. That is going to kind of be more appeal to that kind of look. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
yeah, nothing but respect, and all the coaches are bad too. Coach Bennett at Central. I mean, like I said, I can go on for days. Like, there's some bad dudes in the MAC, and I think we're all doing a great job at trying to get more and more respectful and to get ourselves in those top 25 rankings for sure.
I love it, man. Well, hey, I couldn't be more excited to have this interview. I told you it was long overdue. Cody Walters, assistant coach, Ohio University. Thanks so much, man. Really appreciated the time.
I appreciate it, Kevin. Thank you so much, man.